Wilson,
From Rancho.
who is one of the national finalists for speech and debate from Clark County School District. So she's a star prodigy as far as academics and also very athletic. And then this is Miss Dr. Yvette Wilson, who recently got her PhD, and we're proud of her. And she's in the health field. And then this is her mama from South Carolina visiting.
All right.
And then, of course, the senior, Miss Maya Wilson, who accomplished so much this year, even with a broken collarbone, still got straight A's, and is a phenomenal athlete and scholar. And then the young lady who just sat down is Miss Dr. Rosemary Smith.
I'm thinking you're going around the table.
You can fill.
This is really
So-
I
don't have a
PhD.
PhD. First grade, we've been there for about 12 years, we decided.
Do you want water, Dr. Rosie?
No, thank you, John.
So today, what I'm doing is actually, this is for a class project. I'm working on an administration master's in educational leadership through Nova University. And we have to do a presentation. So this will begin the presentation. It's very laissez-faire, okay? Good afternoon. My name is John Williams. I'm here with Clark County School District and Equity and Diversity Department, working as a liaison to give you information today about what is equity and diversity. But before we do that, I want to get to know everybody. Jada, there's markers and paper right there. If you would please pass those out. Everybody just take a marker and write your name on a piece of paper. You can tri-fold the paper. On one fold, put your name. On another fold, put your ethnic association. Who do you associate with ethnically? And if it's more than one, that's fine. You may have different ethnic backgrounds in your family. So pick a color that you like. Tri-fold the paper. I do want to thank you all for being here today, taking your time.
And they do work, because I tested them out the other day. I'll try it for you. They didn't teach me that first grade.
Yeah, you can put your first name, last initial, and then on the part, let's just see the name side. I don't want to see your ethnicity side just yet. Well, sometimes it is obvious, sometimes it isn't obvious.
Are you sure?
Well, there is a little, in the white file, I'm not sure what it is.
And when you do your ethnicity side, if you can come up with a actual cultural background, European, Swedish, French, Norwegian, that is also helpful versus a color, because I want to be very sensitive to that today, okay?
That's a color.
And then once you have that, if you would just simply, we'll start over here on the end, just tell us your name.
And that's what we're supposed to write on there.
Yes,
What else did you put? Because she followed the directions.
That's fine.
Lisa Higginbottom.
Okay, welcome Lisa.
Jada Wilson.
Thank you for being here, Jada.
Yvette Wilson.
Thank you for being here, Yvette. Great to see you.
Davidson Thompson.
Ms. Thompson, nice to have you here today.
Maya Wilson.
And Maya, great to see you.
Renee Pearson.
Hello, Renee.
Jamie Williams.
Hi, Jamie.
Rosemary Smith.
Hello, Rosemary.
I'm Brandy Tillman.
And Miss Tillman, thank you for being here today. Okay, so the whole point of this little exercise is because oftentimes we don't realize when we look at others, they may not be who we think they are. So, what I want you to do now is reveal your ethnicity. Flip that over. And see if there is anything you were surprised about from another person in the group.
You have to turn it around, Eddie.
Lisa, make sure I'm not surprised. What are
What are you, Swedish? Wasp?
White
So is
people,
anybody
white people.
surprised
White Anglo-Saxon
about anybody's
politics.
ethnicity here?
Yeah, we're not really quite sure which
Anybody surprised?
Yes,
Who?
you.
Who
You're
were?
Irish.
What
I
did you
didn't
know?
that.
You're surprised she's Irish,
Yeah.
okay.
And the wasp, I never knew what that was.
White Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah.
derogatory term, actually, isn't it?
Well, you know, that's why we're here to talk to you about that. Depending on when you were raised
Right.
and your generation and your educational training, you may use terms that we don't necessarily teach today in the classroom. There's various reasons for that. But times change, and so verbiage changes, and people change. But today, I want to talk to you about, and we have one more join us, Mr. Moeller, please come on in. And if you don't mind to share, Renee. I want to talk to you about equity and diversity, because that's important today. We live in a multicultural world with multicultures having to work together to become successful. And as you look around the classroom here today, you can see we have several different cultures. And some people were surprised about others. So initially what we looked at and what we saw may not be what it actually is. What is the role of equity and diversity? Anybody want to take a stab at that question? What could be the role of equity and diversity in the school system today?
Go ahead. No.
I think, one, probably making sure that every equity piece is making sure that everyone is treated equally, but in the same sense, being diverse, meaning taking everyone's culture and their beliefs and their whole culture and into perspective when we're teaching or making adaptations to their learning skills and style.
Okay, so you said understanding the diverse culturalism and making adaptations in the classroom to everybody's learning style. Excellent. Who would like to add to that?
Well, with the equity part, it would be also, rather than just equal, to also provide that equal opportunity for every student in the district, so that they are not judged or pre-enrolled in specific classes, et cetera, based on their race or ethnicity.
That's excellent, excellent. Any other ideas? What other ideas might you have? If you look at your PowerPoint, there's a brief synopsis of what equity and diversity is. What is the role of equity and diversity? It says, in schools, this means education and educators, and stakeholders moving toward frank conversation about serious equity-related issues. So that does go back to what you were saying, Yvette, as far as classroom fairness. Also, defining what those issues mean in the context of our practice, whether in the classroom, the central administrative office, or elsewhere, as well as our role in the bigger picture of schools in the schoolroom. Issues include achievement gaps, bullying, school culture, classroom climate, increasingly diverse classrooms. And additionally, developing real conversations about race, gender, socioeconomic status, and other dimensions of identity that impact the way students, teachers, administrators, parents, community members, and others experience schools and the world around them. So if you go by that definition, I would say that all of you were correct. Every statement that you said and Dr. Rosie said, those were correct. Are you surprised? Did anything stand out
role is bigger than just at school, in the classroom.
How so?
Jamie and I both work at a school that is extremely multicultural. We have children from all over the world. And it's making sure we don't offend anybody and understanding their different cultural beliefs that they bring into the classroom.
And that's a difficult task.
Well, it is very difficult because many of them are direct immigrants from all over the world.
So we live in an age where the classroom represents people from all over the world. Ethnicity, race, color, religion, language can be another barrier we must consider when we talk about equity and diversity. I want to move to the next slide. Equity and diversity in the classroom may translate to this: fairness and equality of opportunity for all. Would you agree or disagree? This includes all staff, employees, administrators, parents, educational stakeholders, you know, the board of trustees, the school board. This includes them as well. Equity and diversity in the classroom also translates to improving graduation rates for all students. We want every student to have an opportunity to graduate, regardless of their cultural background. Equity and diversity in the classroom may also translate to developing quality training for all professionals and policymakers. This is a key. We must train our educators and stakeholders to be sensitive and aware. Just like Renee said, there's people and kids coming from all over the world with different languages. You must be aware of this in today's educational system. And also, equity and diversity in the classroom may translate into building a strong, essential network of professionals and community partners to support efforts and initiatives of the department. So, really, Renee is correct. What's at stake is the entire community. Not just the students, not just the teachers, not just the parents. It's the entire community. Because at the end of the day, we need to produce citizens who are qualified to go out and be productive. That can only happen through equity and diversity. What questions might you have about how equity and diversity translates in the classroom? Or any thoughts? Just take a moment and think about it.
There's a spider.
Well, going along with what you said earlier, I would think that conversations in the classroom, starting with the students, would be a good way to start at a younger age, really understanding equity and diversity. And that diversity in and of itself is inclusive even beyond race and ethnicity. So it's a big conversation piece. And I think the more we talk about issues, the better we can get, maybe to make a difference. We don't want to talk a lot of times about race and other things, but a conversation should be had.
Why do you think that may be? We don't always get into, when we know there needs to be a discussion, we sometimes tend to shy away from that discussion about racial differences, racial equality. Why is that? Brandy.
The big one I see is the policymakers, and this is why I shy away from it. Like, I've worked at-risk schools my entire teaching career. Right now I'm at a predominantly Hispanic school. I don't think policymakers realize that Hispanics go with the family. I have a student that misses every Monday because he's working with his father to make money for his family. I can't knock him for making money for his family. So you know what? You miss school on Monday? That's fine and dandy. Go do what your family needs. And I think the policymakers are so far up in the loop, they don't realize this. And this is where we lack education as teachers they don't realize that. Well, I'm gonna fail the student because he's missed so many days. But he's helping his family become better,
Do you think,
providing for them.
I like what you touched on right there. I've had several students of my own in that same situation. Would it be advantageous for policymakers to decide possibly, could we give students credit for work experience? So the policymakers may have an extremely important role to play here too in changing the diversity of our policy and how we perceive what student success is. Because I think if there's a student who's missing school to help their family become successful, that in a sense is success.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
I have, sorry for the interruption. We have two vehicles that's parked in tollway zones. One is a white Ford Explorer, license plate MONT2KY, divider, okay. And the other is a white Ford F-150.
So if you're parked in a tollway zone, just please go ahead and remove your car from the
We got
Both your
plenty of
cars.
vehicles to park. The other one is a F-50 white Ford license plate LVDD.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate that. Hey, you gotta roll with the punches sometimes, right? So let's talk about some key factors in the educational system that can help develop success. Fairness and equality of opportunity for all. Obviously, that's going to promote success. Highly trained classroom instructors, which is what you see in the building going on today here. Instructors are becoming highly trained by professional staff who is qualified. Administrators who are sensitive and aware of multicultural issues, which goes back somewhat to what Brandy was saying, to policymakers. They need to be aware and they need to be sensitive. Also, community partnership and support. I know as a coach myself, I've worked with several community partners to embed the sports and the extracurricular activities for students. And we do know that when students are involved in extracurricular activities, they're more likely to be successful at graduating high school. And then also, going back to what Dr. Smith said, open and timely communication. We must communicate what the needs are and work towards meeting those needs. What comments might you have about equity and diversity? And just take a moment and think about that. What comments or ideas that you might have?
How do you reach the parents on this subject? When you have parents that are very fixed in their mental opinions, and they put those opinions on their children, and the kids don't care in class, and then you have a conversation, and the parents' opinions come out.
You know,
I mean, it happens a lot, I'm sure it happens in higher grades as well, but in elementary grades, they don't have any opinions themselves.
that is such a tough and great question. How do you reach those parents? There may not be one set answer. It may be as simple as having to take a little extra time and go knock on a door. Or it may be where you have to have a meeting full of policyholders and teachers and also translators. I don't know if there's a perfect answer for that question.
Well, that's just something
But
that we face, I've faced many times every year, where it's a parent that puts these thoughts into their children's heads, and then trying to make them realize that we're all the same.
Essentially, the goal is the same in each classroom, student success. But it's a very tough question, and it deserves a lot of thought, and I don't know if I can fully answer it today.
Well, I don't think anybody can answer it.
I definitely think schools need to be more proactive, especially if you're at a predominantly at-risk Hispanic, Black, whatever kind of school. I think the school has to be more proactive than other schools to get the parents involved.
Right.
Like, you may have to go knock on doors, you may have to get one
Being a
parent.
magnet would come from all over the valley. We have so many different nationalities, and a lot of the culture comes with it.
Mhm.
And sometimes some ideas they have, you wonder where in the world they came up with
I
that.
think, yeah.
But the kids do openly discuss it, which is pretty interesting.
I think that the kids are discussing it shows, as adults, we have to discuss it. We have to find solutions to these questions. So that's just a great question. I'm gonna pose that to some higher ups later down the line for you. The last thing, how can you become involved? Well, number one, I would encourage you to sign up for EDE training and possibly become a liaison for the Clark County School District Equity and Diversity Education Department. Develop a professional learning community, or PLC, at your site dedicated to addressing multicultural concerns of the community. Also getting involved in helping others. Because that's what I heard today, that everybody here has in some way gotten involved and helped others. That requires expertise and experience, which we all have. And then finally, I believe you just need to care and get active. Care. Care about what happens to others. Care about what happens to our community. Become active and involved. What thoughts do you have? Has any of your perceptions changed about equity and diversity in just a few moments that we've been together? Lisa?
Being new to Clark County School Districts, coming from Detroit where I taught in a 100% African American school for 30 years, now coming to Clark County and being in a predominantly Hispanic high school, I, as a new person, would really like to have involvement from an EDE professional development to learn about the different ways of the Hispanic culture and things. I know about the African American culture, but I don't know about the Hispanic culture and things. And that, as a new staff person, that would really have been informative to me culturally.
Well, please see me afterwards and I'll point you in the right direction.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Do you guys offer this training on, to new people or during orientation? Do they get the cultural and diversity training?
You know, there may be some brief training. I know when I became a new teacher, there was a short seminar. But if you wanted to really delve into it, you had to sign up for training through professional development.
Because that's one of the things, I'm from the healthcare arena, and cultural diversity is part of our orientation. That's just one of the things, because you have so many cultures you're dealing with, and their decisions and things interfere with their healthcare and the decisions that they make in their healthcare. So that was just when you were saying, how can you get involved? I mean, you talk about from your policy makers, that might be a start. This is something, it shouldn't be optional for you to want to do it. You're going to be dealing with culture. Should be a mandatory type orientation that you just incorporate into your new orientation. That's just
Excellent point.
I definitely think it should be site-based too. Like, if you're dealing with 100% African-American population, you should have to go to diversity training. Because half the time, the Clark County School District just places teachers wherever they're getting placed. And this is why there's student-teacher conflict. So I think that the principals, they should realize this, and it should be site-based depending on what your population is, depending on what the training is. I know a lot of teachers at my school definitely could use site-based training on different cultures.
I think we all could.
You're right.
And it's a continual training effort because cultures change, cultures adapt. So we must do the same as educators. What other comments might you have? And those are excellent comments and input. So I have some good suggestions for later. The last little thing I would ask you to do is, on your piece of paper, anywhere, not your name tag, but your piece of paper, if you could just put a positive comment and a comment maybe for improvement, just from the presenter aspect. And I do want to thank you for your time today.
On this one?
Yeah, you can write that anywhere on your PowerPoint. Yes? Yeah, feedback. So I'm just looking for a little bit of feedback from the group. And I want to thank you all for being here today. Dr. Wilson, I would really encourage you to speak with Dr. Smith after this is over, or Mr. Moeller even, because they are two experts in the Equity and Diversity Department. And also Lisa, if you need to speak to somebody, these are the two people that you can definitely speak with here. I could only point you in some directions. I greatly appreciate all of your time today. This was so important, not just to spark the conversation for equity and diversity and cultural awareness, but also to see that we are all different and we're all working towards the same common goal, which is student success. Whether it was at the first grade level, or the high school level, or even at the college level. So once again, thank you very much. I appreciate your time today. And if you have any further questions or comments, certainly please email me or give me a call.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap.
Now, there's no question.